noticed before, where God tells Aaron not to come at every 8 into the holy, right? Aaron is told not to come at every 8 into the holy. And here in verse 21, it comes back again. Just want to learn, I'm looking, friends, I have to tell you something. This whole hybrid thing is not working for me. I just have to say it's not working for me. I don't know what we're going to do going forward, but it's not working. I originally started the open book when we didn't have a Parsha class. And I said, you know what? I want to wake up on Shabbos morning the way I did as a kid. And I want to show up in shul. I want to have 20 people, 30 people sitting around with a chumash. And we'll open up the chumash and we'll learn Torah together. That's it. It's not like, and now it feels like, it's like, so everybody, I want you to know, if you live in the local zip code here and you're not in our room, it's a tircha. Like, come in and learn with us. I understand if you're up in like Atlanta, you're in down Atlanta, or you're in Albany, or you're in other, but like if you're in Manhattan, you're around the corner, show up in the room and gehendik. All right. So ish et, ish et. So here we have ish et. And so what is ish et? So what does it mean? Like, we just had this beautiful insight from Aluma about this beautiful walking with. So what does it mean? How do ish et? Rashi says that ish et means, like, it's such a strange, like, who is an ish et? The Torah is like, and so a ready man. Ish et means muchan lekach, miyom etmol, a person who's ready. Only when you're ready, you have to be really prepared. It's not like a man for the occasion, a person for the occasion doesn't mean like a random person. It means somebody who's like actually prepared. Ibn Ezra also says appointed, right? That's ish et refers to an individual whose custom it was to always lead the goat. Like, it has to be, ish et means the one who always does it. That's ish et. Now, that doesn't mean that, like the Rashbam here, the grandson of Rashi in source 11 says ish et doesn't mean the one who always does it. It has to be the one who always does it, but who's a baki. Somebody who actually knows what to do, not just someone who's always doing it, because you have a lot of people who don't know what to do, but they do it all the time. And so that becomes their thing, right? That's their thing. On call. So the time. Like on call, and also an expert, a certain level of expertise. Okay. It's probably playing off of the source 12, B'nai Yisachar Yod'ei Bina La'itim. This is the in Chronicles, those who are from the tribe of Yisachar knew how to interpret the signs of the times. Right? They were like, apparently the children of Yisachar somehow in the book of Chronicles become astrologers. This is the source for the din of a Rebbe and the Hasidic Rebbe from din of the Munkach dynasty begins with someone named Tzvi Elimelech from Dinov, and he writes a book called B'nai Yisachar, the children of Yisachar, which is a book that we studied in our Hasidic Masters class, which is astrological, right? It works with the months and the signs. So the word itim here means like times, right? That you had to know the times. And so to be an ish et means somebody who knows like the ins and outs, is like an expert in going in the wilderness, like a guide, somebody who knows how to take people on to know where to take the goats, right? The tradition says that this is that the person in the rendering of the Mea Shiloach, right? The rendering in the Mea Shiloach here at source 14, the Hasidic master, who was maybe the most radical of the Hasidic masters, wrote that ish et means that he only lived for a little bit longer after, right? The opposite of what Rashi says. Rashi says it's the one who always does it, right? That's what Ibn Ezra said, the one who always does it. But he says that if you look in the Zohar, that Sha'adam azeh lo ha'echai, achar kach bilti zman mu'at. Right? He says that according to the 13th century mystical work called the Zohar, that the Zohar seems to take issue with this notion that it was the one who always regularly does it, because the Zohar seems to be saying the word et means the person who who only has a little bit longer to go. The person with only a little bit of life left. And so he reads it that the diuk, right? He says that the person's action on the Day of Atonement reaches a final eight, a final time of completion, having nothing more left to complete in this world. ECT, the ET phone home. ET is going home. ET is the one who is in such close proximity to the liminality of this and the transience of this world, that this one is the one entrusted to bring the goat to the wild place, to achieve whatever, like to walk with, as Aluma said, to walk with this part of ourselves, part of the world, in a way that only someone who is, almost finished their duty here can do as such. And I was very taken by this image. It was very profound. And given also that in other sources in our tradition, the goat, the Sa'ir, is connected to Lilith, right? That the Lilith, or the demonic in our tradition, right, which is itself we could study for a long time, and we should, right? The notion that someone has to be in close proximity to the forces of Thanatos, to the forces of death, and as such, as we are a tradition that is, in the words of Yitzhak Greenberg, Rabbi Yitzhak Greenberg, who says that Judaism is a religion of life against death, and the famous book Life Against Death, Wilson, right? It's not necessarily life against death, but life, right, in the knowledge of death. Like the ECT is the one who has the knowledge of life about to end, right, and get sent out into the midbar. So I wanted to lift that up and then go back to our teachers with their hands up, and feel free to speak to any one of those pieces. We'll start with you, I guess, bracha, and then we'll move. Everybody, please, mamish, take 30 seconds.
So ET, I see that time thing as for now, because I see Aharon as being so totally conflicted about the whole situation, like a parent whose children have gone wrong in some way and bearing some responsibility and not knowing how to deal with it. And here he is, an insider feeling like an outsider. And I think that's why it says it has the exact same letters in Ha'aron, the physical thing that keeps the Torah, as in the name Aharon, to kind of mirror image that he is still the keeper of the Torah, that he has it within him to do that. And going back to the Azazel, the goat is sent to a steep, craggy place. Goats are experts at dealing with steep, craggy places. So it's a thing of hope that there's possibility for resolving this, for being able to deal with the tensions and the struggles.
That's beautiful. Wow. It's interesting just to think, is this again, back to the different ways of looking at, Asher Chaim was telling us that to be the scapegoat is a bad thing. And it certainly seems like the way that it's been used in history. And then there's the positive side, of course, that I said that the salience of having a scapegoat, as sociologists have written about, can be actually the very thing that allows aggressive and aggression to be ameliorated and healed. And here you're bringing this piece, which is the scapegoat or the sa'ir. The goat's going to a craggy place, but that's where that's actually, goats know how to navigate that terrain, and maybe only. It's like interesting to think that the one who is chosen is there's no name given to the one chosen, right? And there's also no designation. It's not a Kohen. It's not anyone. It's just this anonymous one who knows how to let the goat elevate and do its thing, to let the goat do its thing. That the goat's nature, when it's in the right place, can be the very thing that allows it, those energies to be harmonized and healed. something very beautiful in there, Bracha. You really brought something. I know we haven't actually taken anybody in the space. So 1 second. Been really Zoom privileging here. So 1 second. I'm gonna go into Wendy. And Paul, you wanted to say something or no? Okay, just her. Yeah.
I had 3 points that I wanted to make. Number one is if in fact the person who's leading the goat is like at their end of their days, this is such a treacherous trip. How can somebody who is at the end of their life go through such a treacherous trip in these rocky places? It doesn't make sense. Also, traditionally, when something important needs to be done, it's always with 2 witnesses. And yet this is 1 witness, and everything else is 2 witnesses, 2 witnesses for Rosh Chodesh, 2 witnesses for everything. This is 1 witness, which is like against the grain for tradition. And also, I know.
What are you making of that? So I have an idea. So
okay. And the other thing is that I also have in the past learned a midrash that the goat wasn't actually pushed, but that the guide took the goat on such a journey that it was impossible for the goat not to fall, and then come back and report that the goat had met its demise.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It could be that it's very private, right? And maybe the individual who goes out it points to the non-public nature of the way that we work with the goat energies, or with those energies that only can happen in the wild place, in the cultivated place. That it can't be a witnessing in that way. It has to be the walking with, and like the sense that it's not a public reality. It's a very private matter. I love all those points. I'm hoping everybody here, we're going to remember these Torahs, and I'm going to go. We have time for a couple more Torahs. I can't see here. I can't see. Jill.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm actually driving to synagogue, so I'm going to put my face down. But I wanted to. The conversation evolved into what I was already thinking was basically letting go of the animal part of ourselves and giving that a space, and not necessarily pushing against it, but just letting it go, and by doing that, we get the balance that we need.
Yeah, totally. But I think that what's really instructive here is that even if we let those energies go, in the wild place, there's also has to be someone there to contain those energies. And whether that's the inner Ish Et person, Isha Et, like there is a quality of guidance in how we release those energies in the wilderness and wild, because those ecstatic energies, or those wild energies, or those energies that are part of the shadow integration, like I always say, whatever is stirred has to be stored. And a lot of times when you're in spaces where people invite the stirring of those energies of the goat in the wilderness, they spill, and they go everywhere. And in that sense, they also become quite destructive. They can be incredibly destructive. And so I love the interpretation of the Rashbam, who says that you have to be a baki. You have to have somebody, that the word ishiti is somebody who's like an expert guide in wilderness training, right? In wilderness work. Because if you don't have that, it's really hard to know how those energies will be expressed, and whether they'll be expressed in a healthy way or not. Working with the shadow is very, very complicated, as those who know. Ilana?
Yeah, so I was thinking about the aspect of casting out as being a collective one, and the difficulties and the difficulties of when the collective owns and defines what needs to be exiled, and how this is both, the therapist in me wants to say that this is both developmental, as well as dangerous, as well as normal. And I was thinking of the story of Psyche, who is excuse me, exiled by her community for her beauty. That the community didn't know how to integrate this level of Tiferet, and that it's a journey of our psyches as well to figure out, when in the story of Psyche she's cast out, and on the edge, that's where she encounters God and marries God and then loses God, and that this process of moving, of being cast out, of casting out, of wandering in the desert and finding revelation and finding transformation over 40 years has such richness and complexity to it.
Yes. So what can we say to that other than yes? It is now 9:51, a very rich morning. Friends, we're gonna figure something out with this open book business and this hybrid learning, and I'm gonna spend quite a bit of time this week working on what will be a more workable solution to meet the needs of me as a teacher and our community of learners, also those who show up on site, and also for all of you who are online. We apologize for some of the technical difficulties. We know that the custom is for people to stay in the open Zoom